there, YouTube friends. Matt back here with another video about the Ram 1500. Now, if you're new to my channel, go back and check out my playlist. So far on this bad boy, we've upgraded the taillights, we've replaced the headlights, we've done LED lighting throughout the interior as well as the exterior bulbs, and we've even installed airbags, air shocks in the rear end. So today, we're going to actually do something about the performance of the truck. Now, if you know anything about these Ram 1500s, you know that the Hemi has a lot of power. It's about 400 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque, give or take a few either way. But if you want a really quick and easy way to increase your horsepower, you can switch over your standard air intake to a cold air intake. And what I'll be using today is the K&N Performance Air Intake System. This is model number 63-1578 for the Ram 1500 with the 5.7 liter Hemi. K&N guarantees that this thing will give you at least 10 horsepower increase. So we're gonna see what we can do to find out. Now, I really wish I had a dyno or some really cool way that I could precisely measure any horsepower or torque gains after putting this puppy in, but I don't. So I'm gonna be doing about as redneck a getup as I can get. I've got an app on my phone for drag racing. I'm gonna take it out to a country road and give it some 0 to 60 times before we swap this out, and then I'll do some 0 to 60 times after we swap it out. That's about the best I can get. I'm also gonna do a step-by-step how-to on how to install this baby, so that if you're trying to figure out how to put this thing in, I'll be able to show you how. It's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, so let's pop the hood in the Ram. And don't burn the house down. Alright, so to get a good baseline, a couple of variables we're going to look at here. I'm going to go find a nice flat stretch of road that has a speed limit 60 mile an hour or above. Make sure nobody's on it, and then I'm just going to stand on the gas pedal. I have an app on my phone that I'll put the screenshot up that measures 0 to 60 using GPS. I know that's probably not the most accurate method of doing this, but that's kind of all I've got. So once I find that stretch of road, I will start the camera. We'll do we'll do like a there and back at up to 60 mile an hour just to see what our 0 to 60 time is. I'll show you that. And then we're gonna swap out the intake and then do it again. Now, one thing to consider, I'm going to shut off my automatic engine kill, which is an option in the Ram. So it will be a running engine start. It will not be a off engine start, if that makes sense. So I'll make sure that we have full power when I hit the gas pedal so we get an accurate reading. So once we get out there, I'll be back. All right, here we go. Truck is at a total stop. 3, 2, 1. All right. 3, 2, 1. Looks like that was 7.2 seconds, 0 to 60. So average that out, 7.1. Good little runs there. So let's go back and swap that intake, and we'll see what sort of improvements we get. All right, so 0 to 60 in about 7 to 7.1 seconds. Not bad, 383 feet to get there. On the second test, I did have a tiny bit of a rolling start. I think I just kind of missed the gas pedal, but we'll call it 7 seconds flat. So now let's get underneath the hood and let's swap out this air intake. First things first, we're gonna get the old intake removed. So we've got our throttle body here, the air filter is here. We need to disconnect this little tube, and we push up on there's a gray tab. So we're gonna give it pressure from the bottom and then slide it straight back. Oof, just like that. That's first knuckle bust for the day. And then there's a sensor here that we need to squeeze and pull back, disconnect. All right. Next step is to get the intake off of the throttle body here. So there is a nice big hose clamp, either an 8mm socket looks like, or just a flathead screwdriver. Give this a little bit of a loose. Perfect. And we'll get her up off the throttle body there. Now that we have this disconnected off the throttle body, we just grab onto our air box here and pull it up. This is only held on by some grommets, so a little bit of pressure, and she comes off, clean as a whistle. Let's go ahead and unbox the new air filter now. All I've done is break the seal so far. So inside we've got this guy, weather stripping. Don't judge me for not knowing the technical names. This isn't my forte. The air box, air cleaner box. Looks like your hose that goes into your throttle body. Your two couplings. Your hose clamps and hardware. And here you've got your cone air filter. Now this is a oil air filter. Oiled air filters are nice because they tend to trap more particles than a dry air filter. Now, the drawback is if you live in a very dry or dusty climate, these guys can pick up so much stuff that it will clog up relatively quickly. I live in Minnesota, and aside from this summer where it's been super dry, it's usually not an issue. But when you're doing your routine maintenance, you do need to clean these routinely and then oil them with the K&N air filter oil. So I won't be doing that for a while. It does come pre-oiled, so it is good to go out of the box. And inside you have some paperwork and installation instructions. Doing a side-by-side comparison here, this is our new box. You're going to notice that it has the holes where the grommets go, but it doesn't come with the grommets. So we are going to need to reuse the grommets from the old air box, and there's 4 of them. There's 2 kind of up on the side and then 2 on the bottom. So these are easy enough just to pop out. Make sure you keep them oriented properly. Take those 4 grommets out. Obviously this is a brand new truck, so these are brand new grommets. If you're doing this for an older model truck, you may need to look at replacing these. But they do have just a kind of a cone shape to them. And they're pretty easy just to pop right back into here. There. Now the other thing that we're going to have to recycle are the sensors. And one of them, I think, is an airflow sensor. One of them's heck, I don't know what the heck they are, to be honest with you. But it's this guy right here and this guy right here. So I'm going to grab a wrench. Maybe I don't need a wrench. Okay, so after a little bit closer inspection, there's actually a little clip right here that's preventing me from just kind of turning this out. So I got a flathead screwdriver. Very gently going to pry up this clip. And then she should turn. There it goes. Turns counterclockwise. Pull it straight back. Give it a wiggle. There it is. All right. Now there's also a little O-ring right here that we're going to need to pop off. So I'm going to use my flathead screwdriver. Very gently get under there without damaging it. There we go. And we're going to take that O-ring off. Going into the hardware bag, we're going to find this little rubber grommet guy here. There we go. Kind of looks like a donut. And this is what's going to be used to install that sensor into the new tube here. So you got a nice big hole right here. So it's going to take a little bit of finagling to get that down in there. But make sure that that middle little channel squeezes nicely in there. Oh. Just like that. So then from there, we're going to take our sensor that we just took out and we're going to put it in. You take out that O-ring, because this guy is the O-ring basically. This that grommet we just put in acts as the O-ring. So kind of wiggle this guy down until it's sitting flush in there. It's nice and tight. And then you'll notice that this tab that we had to press down on this one, the tab was about at, from where I'm looking, it's about 6 o'clock. So for you, it's gonna be a little bit different. So I'm just gonna rotate this so that that tab is about the same orientation. That way when we plug our electronics back in, it'll go right in. Okay, up next we're gonna install a little vacuum tube into the assembly here. This is what comes in the hardware kit. It's got threads on one end, and then this is where the attachment's going to go to the truck. Now the instructions are very clear that you do not need thread tape for this, and you also don't want to over tighten it. So make sure that it's lined up nicely. Tighten it by hand as hard as you can. And it does say that this may not seed all the way down, and that's okay. You want to tighten it by hand, as hand tight as you can. And then using a wrench, do one full rotation. It's a 3/4. It's probably some metric, but I don't have a metric that goes that big, but a 3/4 does it for me. So I'm going to do a half turn, or I guess a quarter at a time here. Probably be easier. 2, 3, 4. All right, so 4/4 of a turn equals 1 full turn. There are still some threads showing here, but that is okay. Per the instructions, you don't want to pull this all the way down because you may end up damaging it. So a couple threads here, but it is hand tight plus a full rotation. So now she's ready to go. Super excited that my neighbor decided to start mowing his yard right now, but it is what it is. So up next, we're gonna put on these grommets. Now there's 2 of them that come in the assembly. There's the big one, and there's a bit of a thinner one. The thinner one is going to go on the side that goes into the throttle body. So that we're going to kind of wiggle that over the assembly here. Get it about halfway on. That's good. And then we're going to take our O-ring, 2 of them. Need to loosen up a little bit. Okay. First one goes on the side that obviously holds the grommet onto the tube. And then the second one, make sure it's facing the same direction. Actually, this one we're going to face the opposite direction. So when this goes on the vehicle, it's going to look like this. So I'm going to want to make sure that this one's available for me to tighten up. So leave that guy right there. And then on the other end, we're going to put the big guy here. So we need to put our first O-ring on here first. This guy has a nice ridge in the middle of it, so you know exactly when you're halfway. Slide him right to the middle. Slide that O-ring over top. Now, I'll fully admit, that's probably not called an O-ring, but you don't come to this channel because I'm using the right terms. That guy tightened down. And the second guy, we'll just rest him on here as well. Give him just a tiny bit of a snug so he doesn't fall off. Voila. Now she's ready to rock. Okay, next we're going to install this inside the air box here. So you're going to take the hardware that they give you. It's a screw, a lock washer, and then just a flat washer. You're going to solder that correctly. And then it's a 5/32 Allen hex head, which I just threw on the drill. So we're going to set this guy inside the box so that it's poking out. Line up our screw holes. Get hand tight. Got the other one, hand tight. Give her snug down here. Of course. Okay, now she's in. Up next, we're going to install the weather stripping around the top of the box. So, start on a corner. It only goes on one way, so it's not terribly hard to figure out. Then just work your way around the outside. Once you get it all on the top of the box here, you are going to have some leftover. So get a pair of scissors or wire cutters, or I'm going to use my PVC cutters because these are nice and straight. Find your end. Snip it down. Tuck it in. Alright, now that weather seal's all along the top, we're going to take our cone filter here. We're going to slide it into the air housing. Pop that on, and we're going to make sure that our big clamp, hose clamp, stays up on top of it, which it just fell off. Now the air filter's in the box. There. Tightened up that hose clamp down there. Now she's in the box. Now that we have the air box assembled, we can drop it back into the truck, the new air box. So make sure that it is lined up properly. You can really tell exactly where the grommets go on the side closest to me. As long as you line that up, push her down. All right, takes a little bit of wrestling, but we got her in there. You want to make sure your factory air tube that comes from your grill goes inside the housing in the box. And I kind of had to squeeze it to get it to go inside the box here, but once I did, now she's nice and tight. She is snug, holding well. Sirens wailing in the background here, but we'll try to ignore those. We're going to attach the hose now to the air intake. And then to the throttle body. You know what? I don't like the orientation of that hose clamp, so I'm going to take that off and flip it. There we go. I'll make it easier for the future. Okay. All the clamps are tight. Last thing we need to do is reach back here, reconnect that sensor. Ooh. It's hard to see, but I clicked the hose back in there as well, the sensor hose. And that is it. All the clamps are down. Box is in place, it's fully assembled. That's all she wrote, folks. So here's what it looks like fully assembled. Clamped onto the throttle body. Comes out. There's our cone filter, our oiled cone filter. This is where it meets up to the factory air intake that goes into the grill. And then if you look back there, you see our sensors are hooked up. Tube. I assume that's an airflow sensor. And that's it. Now let's take her back out on the road and see if we got any improvement in our 0 to 60 times. Alright, get on the straightaway here. We're going to stop. Here we go. This is with the cold air intake. 3, 2, 1. Ooh, definitely roast the tires that way. Hey. Well, that shows 7.1 seconds, but the problem is that really spun the tires. Like that was more than just a chirp that I had last time. So I don't know that I'm going to get a really accurate recording. I can tell you flat out that has more power. That pulled really hard, but it also, instead of chirping the tires, it flat out spun the tires until my traction control kicked in. So this is going to be a little bit difficult to gauge, I'm thinking. I wonder if I should give it just a little bit of a rolling start. Whew, that took my head back a little bit. That was quick. So I will say, that absolutely had more kickback to it. I mean, man, I really wish there was a way to judge this, because the readings look like 7.1 seconds. But that definitely got her quicker. So I've got the air conditioning running now. I'm heading back home. The times, they don't show the difference. It's right about where it was, right in the 7s. But there's two things I'll tell you, and I hope the GoPro picked this up. First and foremost, the truck sounds different. It really sounds different. When I had the windows down and I hit the accelerator, it has almost like it's not a whine necessarily. I guess it is a whine. That's the way to call it. But it kind of has that noise that you hear when a diesel has a turbocharger and you hear that turbo spooling up. It has that noise now, and it's got to be obviously from the airflow coming in. It really sounds cool. Second, when I hit the gas pedal that hard, it is much more aggressive. The engine sounds more aggressive. And maybe it's just my ears, and maybe I'm wishful thinking, or maybe I'm not picking up on it differently. I don't know. But it definitely sounds different. So I will be very curious to see what this does for gas mileage as well. I can tell you right now, I reset my gas gauge. I'm just doing in-town driving right now, and obviously I just did 2 really hard accelerations on this. I've gone 6 miles since I reset the needle. I'm at 15.3 miles per gallon. In town, I'm usually about 13.5 to 14. So I'm sure it's way too early to tell. But it looks, as of right now, like I'm getting a decent upgrade in my gas mileage. So I'm going to put a few 100 miles on it, obviously, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll report back and actually let you know. Well, that's it, folks. Obviously, this was a very easy install. If I didn't have to shoot video, I could have knocked this thing out probably in 20 minutes. I mean, it's super simple. Anybody can take care of it. It just takes very common hand tools. And so far, the performance gains I've seen the most is in the gas mileage. It's up to 16.5 miles per gallon driving in town, which I don't think I've ever seen it over 15 with in-town driving. So again, that was just for a couple miles. So I'll report back once I get an actual good gauge. I'll take a road trip here in the next couple days, see what kind of gas mileage it gets. It doesn't show the increases on the app from the 0 to 60 times. There's 1,000 different variables that could affect that. I can tell you, though, that when I stood on it, it definitely put me back a lot harder in the seat than it did the first time around. So These Hemis have a decent amount of torque and horsepower off the line regardless, but I could definitely feel a difference. I could hear a difference as well, as I said in the earlier video. So 100%, this is an upgrade that I would recommend to anybody. This intake was about $350 on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description below if you want to pick one of these up. But that's it, folks. A super easy performance upgrade to get you a little bit more horsepower, a little more torque. As always, thank you guys for watching, and have a great one.